When did a bad year-end bonus turn into a full office mutiny? Story 1. I work at a mid-sized SaaS startup where the CEO loves town halls and radical transparency. He opened our year-end meeting with a hype video of customer logos and a drone shot of our office, shot 6 months ago before layoffs. He said we'd all share in the upside. The slide changed to a number. $0.00. He smiled like he'd landed a punchline and explained that our all-hands bonus was going to be equity. New options at a deeply attractive strike price. Translation, confetti you can't spend on rent. Then he said executives would still receive cash retention awards because stability at the top is critical. The camera caught the VP of sales nodding in a room with a literal champagne bucket behind him. Slack exploded. Engineers renamed channels. Number cash flow, not cashless. Number hoodie vesting schedule. Support reps posted screenshots of the thanks for your empathy emails they'd sent angry customers all year. Someone pasted the CEO's Instagram from last weekend, a photo of his new Porsche with the caption, "Earned, not given. Bad timing." By noon, the PR team's scheduled New Year product launch draft was deleted from the calendar. Product managers tagged every feature blocked pending compensation clarification. Support opened every ticket with a macro that asked for callback numbers because response times may be longer due to internal escalations. HR closed the Slack AMA after 3 questions. At 2 p.m., the platform team disabled non-essential nightly deploys, citing risk to production during organizational instability. It wasn't a strike, exactly, just working to rule in a company that survives on heroics. Our uptime dipped, sales demos stalled, and the board suddenly appeared in the CEO's office. The next morning, an interim adjustment arrived, a real cash bonus, modest but taxable, plus the options. The Porsche post disappeared. And the radical transparency claim? The only transparent thing was how fast work stops when people realize we're a family means the kids eat exposure while the parents buy champagne. Story 2. I'm an ER nurse. During the pandemic, we were promised a year-end hero bonus, the kind you only hear about when politicians tweet. It was supposed to land in December. Instead, the hospital CFO rolled out a patient experience multiplier that cut the bonus for anyone on nights because our survey response rate is lower at 3 a.m. when people are sleeping or sedated. The cherry on top, no bonus at all for per diem nurses, the same folks who filled every hole in the schedule. They announced it during a staff meeting while we were short 2 techs and a monitor reader. Security walked through with a tray of cookies like we were at a school assembly. The cookies had little sugar logos of the hospital crest. I took one purely out of spite. The group chat lit up. You know how nurses can coordinate care without speaking? Turns out we can coordinate a mutiny the same way. We didn't abandon patients. No one would. We just followed the policy manual to the letter. Every catheter needed 2 signatures. Every med pass required a second verification. Every transport waited for transport, not whoever has a spare minute. We capped our hallway beds at the posted maximum instead of being flexible for ambulance offload. Within 4 hours, the waiting room looked like a budget airline terminal during a thunderstorm. The charge nurse filed a safe staffing event every 20 minutes. The attending backed us. The CEO's phone number got passed around like a talisman. When an administrator told us to think of the patient experience, someone said, "We are." That's why we want the nurses who work at night to be able to afford to sleep during the day. By end of shift, administration clarified the policy. Night shift would receive full bonuses. Per diem nurses would get a prorated amount. The cookies were still there, stale and glossy. I took another one on my way out. It tasted like sugar and apologies. Story 3. I used to manage a line in a plastics plant. We worked 12-hour shifts all December to hit a rush order for a big box retailer. The GM gave speeches about shared sacrifice and promised the biggest year-end bonus the plant had ever seen. The rumor mill said $1,000 each. People were counting on it. Tires, braces for a kid, catching up on rent. We finished the run at 2 a.m. on the 23rd. The floor smelled like hot resin and victory. Next morning, we were handed envelopes. Inside, a $25 grocery gift card with our company logo printed on it and a letter describing the rest of the bonus as entries into a raffle for a kayak, 2 smart TVs, and a holiday ham. The ham was one ham, singular. The forklift horns started first, a short bleat, then 2, then a chorus. Welders set down their torches. Pack-out refused to sign off on pallet counts. No one walked out. They just wouldn't move product. Our maintenance lead parked the scissor lift in front of shipping and took the key. The GM came down red-faced, saying we were lucky to be employed. Someone held up the letter and asked whether the ham came pre-sliced so it'd be easier to divide 120 ways. What broke him was the QA team. They announced a full re-inspection of the rush order per ISO standards. That meant we weren't sending a single box before Christmas. Truckers were already idling at the dock. The retailer rep called every 5 minutes. I watched the GM glance at the clock, then at the mountain of shrink-wrapped pallets, then at the forklift keys on a lanyard none of us would touch. By lunch, a revised memo appeared. $800 cash today, the balance in January, raffle canceled, ham donated to the shelter. We returned the lift key like it was a hostage exchange. I still have the gift card, unused, stuck to my fridge with a magnet. It's a reminder. Respect isn't a raffle prize. Story 4. I sell enterprise software. Our comp plan is already a labyrinth, but this year finance added a culture multiplier to bonuses. If you took fewer than 5 PTO days, your bonus would be reduced for not modeling work-life balance. At the same time, they bumped executive bonuses by a market alignment factor. So, hustle all year, then get docked for hustling. The announcement landed the week 2 whale deals slipped because legal was backed up. Reps who had lived in airports suddenly learned they were anti-culture. Our VP tried to spin it as enlightened, like we were a Scandinavian co-op. Someone posted the PTO calendar. Half the team had their vacations denied during Q4 pushes. The irony could have powered a small city. Mutiny started in the CRM. Reps reclassified late-stage opportunities as house accounts, eligible only for base commission, not bonus multipliers. Demo engineers stopped scheduling after-hours walkthroughs. Marketing's event lead lost the badge scanner for an executive roundtable. We actually mailed it back to the vendor because the contract said the client had to provide it. Everyone followed the playbook exactly, and nothing moved an inch. Then the best closer on our team sent an all-company email. He was accepting a job at a competitor and taking 2 AEs and a solutions architect with him. Their calendars went from blue to empty in seconds. The VP scheduled an emergency call. Half of us RSVP'd tentative. Finance replied all with, "Let's talk individually about exceptions." Funny how exceptions only appear when your pipeline evaporates. By Friday, leadership revisited the intent and scrapped the culture multiplier retroactively. Bonuses paid out based on bookings, and a real policy about PTO approval was written by legal instead of vibes. The closer still left. In the going-away happy hour, someone proposed a toast to boundaries. We clinked glasses and actually logged off at 5. Turns out balance is easy to model once you stop playing games with people's pay. Story 5. I work in campus IT at a university where meetings never end and everything is called a task force. After a rough year patching ancient servers and quelling ransomware scares, we were promised a year-end bonus to thank the unsung heroes. They unveiled it at a winter luncheon in the ballroom. $300 in campus cash, a prepaid card usable only at the bookstore, the cafeteria, and the campus-owned coffee carts. Expiration date, January 15th. To faculty, this was quirky. To custodial, grounds, dining, and IT, people with kids, mortgages, and old cars, it was an insult wrapped in a lanyard. You could buy framed diplomas and $7 lattes, but not groceries. HR called it keeping dollars on campus. Someone asked if HR's dollars stayed on campus. The room got very quiet. Our mutiny came in the form of obedience. We closed every non-critical ticket and wrote, verbatim, Per policy. This request will be prioritized after January 16th. Grounds crews scheduled leaf blowers to start at 6 a.m. under the President's office windows every day, citing the noise ordinance the administration wrote. Dining replaced the fancy lunch menu for a donor event with whatever could be bought with campus cash, muffins, drip coffee, and university-branded water bottles. The bookstore put up signs that read, "Campus cash eligible items only," and routed purchases through the 2 readers that accept it. So the line curled past the windows while the donor tour went by. The student paper caught wind. The headline, "Bonus Bucks, Broken Trust," was everywhere by afternoon. Alumni started emailing the president. By evening, a campus-wide email announced that the campus cash would be paid out equivalently in real money via payroll and the expiration removed to honor your flexibility. The president added a line about listening and learning. Story 6. I work for a city transit agency where the year-end bonus is the only thing that smooths out 12 months of abuse, snow chains, and schedules written by optimists. This year, the CFO announced our Safety First bonus would be awarded as points in a new driver app. Wear your seatbelt? Plus 1 point. No complaints this week? Plus 2 points. Redeemable for branded fleece jackets, lunch boxes, and, no joke, bus-shaped stress balls. Cash bonuses were paused to invest in technology. Meanwhile, managers kept their retention stipends because leadership stability reduces incidents. Sure, we didn't strike. We simply obeyed every rule the city had forgotten it wrote. No early departures to keep the line flowing. No unscheduled stops. No radioing dispatch to help a stuck route unless it met the hazard threshold defined in the manual. If a wheelchair securement took 8 minutes, it took 8 minutes. If someone sprinted across the street, we waited for the next green like the training video says. Within hours, the system revealed the math that keeps it alive. It relies on our invisible favors. Transfers missed, platforms crowded, council members' aides texting that their boss's bus mysteriously arrived 12 minutes late. The mayor's office called the director. The director called Ops. Ops called us to show flexibility. The union steward calmly read the policy back to them like scripture. By day 2, media helicopters were filming buses politely idling at red lights while commuters fumed. We kept the city moving, just not smoothly. The app chirped congratulations for safe choices, peppering us with cartoon confetti while riders pounded on doors we were forbidden to reopen. A supervisor tried to bribe a road relief with a coffee to shave time. He pointed to the app and asked, deadpan, how many points a latte was worth. The reversal came at 4 p.m. Cash bonus reinstated, points program, pilot discontinued, leadership stipends deferred. The memo thanked us for illuminating operational dependencies. We smiled, signaled, and merged with textbook precision. The city ran again, not because of an app, but because respect finally showed up with a paycheck. Story 7. I'm a gaffer on a streaming series where we're a family means lunch is always 15 minutes late, and we haven't seen sunlight since October. Our bonus was supposed to acknowledge the endless night shoots and creative pivots. Instead, production announced a gratitude package. Vouchers for company swag, discounts on a partner gym, and, this part made the room laugh, an IMDb optimization session with a publicist who would enhance our online presence. Above-the-line folks still got cash. Below the line got exposure, the eternal currency. Film sets run on quiet miracles, electrics pre-rigging, camera assistants catching mistakes, grip-saving schedules with a ratchet strap and a prayer. The morning after the announcement, nobody refused to work. We just followed the contract. Meal breaks at exactly 6 hours. Penalties if late. Turnaround honored to the minute. If you called rap at 2 a.m., you didn't see us until afternoon. Not for a quick pickup, and not for just one insert. Safety rigs triple-checked. No borrowed cable from another stage without paperwork. The AD's walkie became a weather alert system for penalties. By 3 p.m., the producer was calculating in public. He stared at a spreadsheet, then at a dolly track that could not be moved because the forklift sign-out required a supervisor who was currently on his contractual break. Locations refused to unlock a stairwell without a fire watch. Transportation parked exactly where the diagram said, even though everyone knew a U-turn would save 10 minutes. A STARS manager tried to charm us. The best boy handed over the contract page listing turnaround provisions like it was a ransom note. We wrapped at 2 a.m. again. Reported time, 2:11, because the last stinger was coiled safely. The next day, a new memo. The gratitude package would be supplemented by a cash bonus, paid that week. No more IMDb sessions. The producer gave a speech about listening to the crew. The key grip tapped his watch and asked if lunch was on time. Reader, it was. Story 8. I worked at an international aid nonprofit where our year-end bonus is modest but sacred. It covers plane tickets home, winter coats, a month's rent to exhale after a year of field work. This year, leadership announced with beatific smiles that our bonus would be reimagined as a donation in our names to the organization itself. We could even pick the project. They framed it as radical alignment with mission. Executive bonuses, we were told, remained cash per competitive benchmarks. The town hall chat was a forest of question marks. We didn't sabotage programs. We refused to subsidize spin. Comms had a holiday campaign primed to launch. Glossy videos and a landing page promising every dollar goes to the field. Program managers flagged the copy. Not true if staff bonuses were being routed to overhead. Finance argued semantics. So staff turned transparency into procedure. We paused campaign approvals pending accuracy review. Grant writers annotated every paragraph with footnotes. Country directors required written confirmation that restricted gifts wouldn't be used to backfill bonuses labeled as donations. Everyone CC'd the board. Donors started asking the same questions. A journalist who follows aid accountability caught wind and emailed the comms alias. The brand team begged us to keep internal matters internal. The social team scheduled the campaign anyway. The schedulers in digital politely removed it, citing the new accuracy review process. It was bureaucratic Aikido. We used their love of process to stall the machine. 3 days later, the CEO emailed a mea culpa. Cash bonuses reinstated, the donation in your name idea retired, and a commitment to publish a clear breakdown of overhead versus program spend on the campaign page. He framed it as partnership. We accepted, then got back to writing grants in windowless rooms. The mission never needed our money. It needed our trust and our insistence on telling the truth, even when it's inconvenient for a holiday video. Story 9. I teach 8th grade in a district that loves slogans. Our superintendent unveiled the Wellness Winter Bonus, 2 days at a mindfulness retreat center, and a voucher for a teacher self-care basket. Candles Tea, a motivational journal. Cash wasn't aligned with restorative practices. Meanwhile, central office had budgeted year-end performance incentives for senior administrators. A principal asked if we could trade the tea for tire money. People laughed, then didn't. Teachers are experts in quiet refusal. We stopped donating the invisible labor that props up the system. No before-school tutoring on our own time. No responding to parent emails at 9 p.m. No printing at home when the copier jammed for the 5th time. Clubs paused until stipend paperwork was processed. The lesson plans we had always shared freely went back into our private drives until the district fixed the curriculum portal we'd been begging them to repair. Parents noticed first. Homework portals updated around 4 p.m. and not a minute later. The PTSA president, usually a district ally, asked in a meeting why wellness didn't include paying the people who stabilize kids for 180 days. The local news called it a soft strike. We called it working by the book. The district called an emergency listening session. We showed up with calendars, receipts, and copies of the extra duty forms that had been processing since September. The reversal was swift. a real cash bonus, smaller than we wanted, but real, and a contract addendum prohibiting off-hours email expectations. The retreat voucher became optional. Many of us still went, not because of the candles, but because we had finally drawn a boundary and the district, for once, didn't bulldoze it. In the quiet of the meditation room, I wrote one sentence in the journal. Respect is the only restorative practice that works. Story 10. I was a tools programmer at a mid-tier game studio where almost shipping is a lifestyle. Our bonus, a carrot for surviving 12 months of crunch, arrived as loot boxes. Not for us, for players. The company would credit our accounts with developer crates, cosmetic bundles in our own title. On top of that, a slice of bonus tied to the game's Metacritic score. QA audibly groaned. Marketing applauded and asked if we could tweet about it. Game development runs on goodwill and midnight fixes. We withdrew both without breaking a single rule. Code freeze meant code freeze. No weekend ninja hotfixes. If Jenkins failed a build after 6 p.m., it failed until morning. QA filed every bug they saw, including the known issues we had always quietly triaged out of release notes. Localization refused to sign off on placeholder text. DevOps scheduled server cap tests only during business hours. Our Discord mods closed the Ask a Dev channel until we had a policy on internal compensation questions, which suddenly arrived on legal letterhead. Influencers pinged us. We sent them to PR. PR pinged us. We sent them to the bug tracker. A producer tried to sweet-talk a late-night shader change. The graphics lead replied with a link to the freeze policy he'd written and nobody had ever read. Oddly, productivity went up at 10 a.m. and down at 2 a.m., which is to say, it normalized. The metric nobody expected to dip was willingness to walk through fire for this. The board noticed. Pre-orders slowed when our community managers, saints, refused to spin a story they didn't buy. 3 days later, HR announced a proper cash bonus, loot crates optional as a silly perk, and scrubbed the Metacritic tie-in. The creative director told us he respects boundaries. We nodded and merged our pull requests. During the day, like humans, the game shipped. It wasn't saved by a loot box. It was saved by a line in the sand and people who finally had the daylight to do their best work. Story 11. I'm housekeeping supervisor at a 5-star hotel that survives on invisible miracles. Lipstick out of terry cloth, conference rooms flipped in 15 minutes, the exact number of hangers in the closet because someone will count them. Our winter bonus is the one time the miracle workers feel seen. This year, corporate swapped cash for Bravo Bucks, a staff script only spendable at the hotel, cafe, spa, or at employee rate stays with blackout dates. Management kept their market retention cash because talent is scarce at the top. Film festival week was 3 days away. Perfect timing. We didn't walk out. We made hospitality literal. Every minibar count needed the 3 signatures the audit book demands. A burned bulb? Engineering ticket only. No more grabbing a ladder ourselves. Suites could not be released until security cleared all left-behind items per policy. You'd be amazed how many AirPods people forget. Banquets refused verbal changes to banquet orders, email or no change. Housekeeping took every legally required break on time. Turn down meant the full checklist: draw drapes, align slippers, crease duvet. By 4 p.m., the check-in line coiled like a python. VIP suites awaiting clearance. The ballroom couldn't flip because the centerpiece spec changed from lilies to hydrangeas without a revised BEO. A celebrity handler asked for a humidifier at whatever floor has one. Inventory said we had 2, neither assigned to that tower. So we waited for a porter with the transfer sheet. The GM did a pep talk about team spirit. A room attendant asked, gently, if pep talks were redeemable in Bravo Bucks. The reversal arrived with the urgency of a fire alarm. Cash bonuses reinstated, script optional, and blackout dates removed, effective immediately. The GM grabbed a vacuum to pitch in. We let him, after he signed the equipment log like everyone else. The film festival never noticed the mutiny. They just saw a hotel that suddenly ran on rules until respect returned with currency. Story 12. I'm a picker at a regional fulfillment center where December is trench warfare. The rumor said a big peak bonus was coming. Instead, corporate rolled out Team Thrives, a program that replaced cash with a raffle, kayak, Bluetooth projector, and tied the rest to a wearables engagement score. Leads got cash to stabilize leadership. Our scanners lit up with a new badge, Thrives. The floor answered with policy. Hydration breaks at the posted interval to the minute. Every tote scanned twice for bin exceptions. No piggybacking totes to beat the pathing algorithm. Forklifts signed out by the book. No keys passed hand to hand. If an aisle was blocked, we radioed safety and waited for clearance cones. Packers refused to pre-tape boxes beyond the standard bundle count because that's counted as unreported prep. The returns crew rejected any item without a printed RMA, no handwriting fixes, even if it was obviously the right SKU. By noon, the dock looked like an airport during a blizzard. SLAs bled. The regional VP materialized wearing a vest with a lot of pockets and the eyes of someone who flew in on a red-eye. He said we were weaponizing policy. Our steward read him the safety manual's page numbers like chapter and verse. The wearable chirped that I had celebrated a teammate. I celebrated the pause button. Day 2, carriers refused additional trailers. We were out of seals anyway because procurement cut the reorder for efficiency. The VP tried to buy pizza. The ovens are in HR's budget. HR was in a meeting. We watched as customer service escalations started quoting penalty clauses. By 3 p.m., the email hit. Cash bonuses back. Raffle canceled, wearables data paused pending review, peak stipends extended to night shift leads. The same VP handed out the memo personally. I asked if memos earned engagement points. He didn't laugh. The line started moving again, not faster than physics, just fast enough for trust to keep up. Story 13. I'm a fourth-year associate at a we-don't-advertise law firm that thinks legacy is a compensation plan. Historically, we got a real, if soul-priced, bonus for surviving a year of red lines and weekend war rooms. This year, the partners announced a meritocracy reboot. Bonuses replaced with origination-weighted profit share. Translation: unless you bring in clients, which associates don't, you're paid in promises. Partners also took a record distribution to reflect rainmaking realities. We didn't firebomb a deal. We stopped being perpetual motion. Emails after 8 p.m. Required the subject prefix, urgent, client deadline. Per the handbook, no one reads. Document review speeds followed the written staffing ratios, not just do a first pass tonight. Redline style guide enforced to the comma. If you want a black line, request it in the DMS, not by voice note at 1 a.m. Lunchtime became lunchtime, billable, the way the policy says when you're stuck on premises. Knowledge management requests were ticketed, not, "Can you send me that model clause?" The machine caught. A tender offer filing hit, locked for edits at 7:59 p.m. because the partner missed the lock window. E-filing wouldn't accept his last-minute tweak without new signatures. The client's CFO asked why we were so formal suddenly. Our group head explained we were honoring sustainability standards. He meant rules, said Fancy. 2 clients quietly called competing firms to test options. A rainmaker threw a pen. Another one ran the numbers and saw that a departing class of associates would cost more than any bonus. Emergency meeting, guaranteed cash bonus restored. Origination plan optional for seniors, and a new written policy on protected time with real teeth. A partner asked if we were happy now. I said, happier to hit submit when it actually matters. The deal closed on time, daytime, like a firm that plans instead of panic types. Story 14. I'm a line worker for a utility that spent the summer chasing storms and the fall cutting power lines away from charred hillsides. The hazard bonus usually lands in December and makes up for missed birthdays and sleeping in trucks. This year, leadership replaced cash with a resilience package. Wellness app credits, a mindfulness subscription, and points for completing resilience challenges like drinking water and journaling. Executives retained cash because market. The email had stock photos of people doing yoga in fields. None of them were wearing FR-rated gear. Crews responded by honoring procedure like it was gospel. No energized work without all 3 clearances, not even for a quick fix. Traffic control requested through the city, and we waited for the flaggers instead of using a spare hard hat and wishful thinking. Environmental permits for creek crossings? Filed and approved, or we stayed on the bank. Birds nesting on a crossarm. The wildlife biologist signs off, or the pole stays. Over time, CAPS observed, fatigue management enforced. Dispatch asked if we could help the optics in one high-profile neighborhood. Our foreman replied with the line from the safety manual about optics not preventing arc flash. Outages stretched. The regulator's liaison began calling our COO hourly. A mayor's planned photo op at a restoration success site was canceled because we wouldn't let him inside the taped zone. A comms person asked for a heroic story. We told the truth. Heroism is sometimes waiting for a permit because we'd like everyone to go home with all 10 fingers. 2 days later, the resilience package email vanished, replaced by one announcing hazard pay restored retroactively, stipend converted to cash, and a new budget line for crews to pre-stage gear before storm season. Our idea, finally funded. The app still sends me a reminder to breathe. I breathe best when the pay matches the risk. Story 15. I'm a librarian in a city system where the bonus is tiny, but it buys boots for winter outreach and groceries at the end of a long month. This year, administration replaced it with community impact tokens, points redeemable for tote bags, staff workshops, and 1 free class with our mindfulness partner. Expiration in 6 weeks. Directors kept retention bonuses because continuity of vision. Our branches had been carrying the city through layoffs and heat waves. We needed rent, not totes. We didn't punish patrons. We enforced the rules the city wrote and forgot. Program capacity capped at fire code. No squeezing, just a few more into story time. Children's room required a caregiver within line of sight, always. No, just 5 minutes, so someone can print tax forms. Meeting rooms demanded certificates of insurance for public events. Without them, doors stayed locked. After-hours author talks needed a security guard on the schedule. If none was booked, the event became a morning event. The makerspace required completed waivers. Half the regulars finally filled them out, surprised they'd ever been optional. Chaos in slow motion. The beloved local author night had no COI on file. We rescheduled. The council members' staff wanted to host a town hall in a branch meeting room that was already at capacity. We offered a second date per policy. A donor complained to the paper that we were less welcoming. The student newspaper headline, "Totes, Not Bonuses," did numbers. Parents, who love the rules when they keep kids safe, asked why staff couldn't be paid in dollars to keep enforcing them. Within 48 hours, the board convened. Tokens became cash, expiration removed, and a small fund created to cover security, our COI fees for community events, so staff aren't pressured to ignore policy. We opened a second story time the next week, with an extra page in the budget for the librarian running it. The tote now holds my groceries. That feels like community impact. Story 16. I'm ramp at a major airline. The fluorescent vest folks who turn an aluminum tube into a flying bus on a 35-minute clock. Our year-end bonus landed as flight credits, standby only. Blackout dates from mid-November to mid-January, non-transferable. Management still got cash to ensure executive continuity. You can't pay rent with a maybe seat to Cleveland. No one risked safety or passengers. We did the opposite. We followed every regulation like it was carved on stone tablets. Every gate-checked stroller went to oversize claim, per policy. Every carry-on got weighed and sized instead of "it looks fine." Weight and balance? We waited for the final manifest, corrected to the person. No close enough for last-second seat swaps. The lav service truck didn't roll until the marshaller had the CHOCS log signed. If a cargo bin's latch felt sticky, we wrote it up for maintenance and waited. Boarding doors did not close a second before the exact cutoff. De-icing queue times were reported to the minute. The tiny favors we normally extend, reopening a door for a runner, sliding a gate check through so a parent makes a connection, taking a bag off a scale because we know a funeral is on the other end, those favors are the oil in the machine. Remove the oil, and the machine still runs. It just screams. That afternoon, a regional VP in a crisp blazer appeared at the gate holding a radio like a prop. He asked if we were trying to make a point. Our lead rampy pointed to the ops manual and said, "We're making your point. Delays stacked." A senator's staffer missed a connection and called someone who called someone. Social lit up with videos of planes sitting at gates while we checked, double-checked, and initialed forms the way the airline taught us. By the next morning, an all-hands email arrived. Blackout dates removed, credits convertible to cash on request, and yes, a real bonus on this paycheck. The VP offered to jump in on bags. We handed him a pair of gloves and the injury log. He declined. Planes pushed on time again. Like magic you can only buy with respect. Story 17. I'm a senior associate at a CRO, one of those clinical trial shops that keeps pharma honest and on schedule. Our year-end bonus became career capital, authorship tokens for internal white papers, a voucher to present at a conference next fiscal, and a glossy badge for our profiles. Executives retained cash because market comparables. Our lab techs were already splitting shifts with daycare. Career capital doesn't pay for pipette tips or cereal. We didn't touch data integrity. We enforced it. Chain of custody forms missing a single witness, specimens quarantined, temperature loggers that blipped 1.1 degrees Fahrenheit outside the validated range during transit, rejected and documented. Deviations required CAPAs with 2 signatures, not "we'll tidy it later." Monitors got every question answered, but only after the source was re-verified line by line. Shipping didn't release investigational product without the pharmacist's countersignature. If she was on lunch, it waited. The IRB packet for a minor protocol amendment went incomplete or not at all. Sponsors who usually nudged, "Can we just," learned that the answer was "sure," with the correct form. Timelines slipped not because we were sloppy, but because we were flawless. A PI called our director and said we were weapons-grade pedantic. He meant compliant. The director tried to pep-talk us about mission. Our QA head smiled and asked when mission started covering rent. By day 3, 2 trials were at risk of missing milestones, which meant penalty clauses and investor calls. The board asked why morale was affecting quality. QA said quality was perfect. That was the problem. The fix came fast. Cash bonuses reinstated immediately, authorship tokens optional as a perk, travel covered this fiscal, and hiring approvals for 2 long-requested coordinators. We went back to moving mountains at speed with the comfort of knowing we wouldn't be expected to carry them for free. Story 18. I'm a line cook at a chef-driven restaurant group where we make magic on margins that would make a banker weep. The year-end bonus turned into family meal credits, valid Monday-Thursday from 2 to 5 p.m. We're on the line then, plus a slot in a chef's masterclass. Managers kept cash for stability. The busser who bikes an hour to work did the math and laughed without smiling. We didn't burn a single steak to prove a point. We cooked to spec and to code. HACCP logs were filled to the letter. If the walk-in temp edged high, nothing left it until maintenance signed off. 8-minute chicken? It took 8. Tickets printed with substitutions like allergy to onions got halted until a manager signed the allergen matrix. In pen, not a shrug. No off-the-clock prep. No, can you just blitz a puree while you're on your break? Host capped the room at posted capacity. No sliding in the influencer party of 9, just for content. The bar poured to the legally posted ounce. No generous long pours to keep a table happy. The dining room felt the difference immediately. Fire times went from heroic to honest. A brunch influencer filmed herself glaring at a closed patio. Wind gusts exceeded the limit on the permit. then tagged us in a story time about service attitude. A regional director popped in with a clipboard to help. We handed him a thermometer and the sanitizer test strips. Funny how many clipboards disappear when bleach is involved. By the weekend, covers were down, comps were up, and the GM looked like a man who had discovered gravity. The reversal arrived between lunch and dinner, cash bonuses back, credits optional with no blackout hours, and a written rule banning off-the-clock labor. HR also finally posted the overtime flow chart we'd been promised. That night, the pass hummed again. Still by the book, still delicious, but with a sweetness that wasn't on the menu. Being treated like the professionals who keep everyone safe and fed. Story 19. I'm at an architecture firm that loves legacy lectures and hates line items. Our bonus became a spread in the firm's glossy monograph and a weekend wellness retreat at a cabin 2 hours away. Unpaid travel time, naturally. Partners took record distributions, reflecting origination. The group text between project architects sounded like a building alarm. No one tanked a submittal. We removed the free labor the firm runs on. Timesheets exact. No, I'll just eat the hour. RFIs answered within the contractually allowed window, not at 10 p.m. For pricing, sets went out only after the QA checklist cleared. Seismic calcs, egress, energy model verified. City submittals weren't hand-walked by juniors on Saturdays. We booked appointments like civilians. No sketch stamp on a napkin. If it needed a stamp, it got a stamped detail or it waited. The BIM lead refused to just export a quick 3D without a coordination meeting on the calendar. Developers who adored our hustle suddenly met our process. A principal tried to crash a plan check with a smile. The counter clerk asked for the wet seal. The GC phoned in a favor. We pointed to the spec. The client on a flagship tower hinted they were interviewing other firms. The managing partner did math fast. By Tuesday, a memo. Cash bonuses reinstated, retreat optional and on paid time if attended, and a new policy forbidding unpaid overtime with an actual enforcement mechanism. The partner gave a speech about protecting the craft. We nodded and issued ASIs, with daylight in the room, not under fluorescent gilt. Funny thing, when the firm honored our boundaries, the drawings got better, and the jobs sailed through plan check like buildings designed by grown-ups. Story 20. I'm on the digital desk at a national newsroom where your bonus used to be the only buffer between you and the rent spike. This year, leadership rolled out a performance pool tied to page views and video watch time. Top 10% got cash. Everyone else got a master class with a creator. Editors retained retention bonuses because continuity in a volatile market. Translation. Hit the algorithm or enjoy exposure. We didn't publish worse. We published correctly. Two-source rule enforced on every breaking hit. If comms wouldn't confirm, it waited. Headlines that oversold the reporting got kicked back by copy, with citations requested. Photodesk refused to run stock that implied guilt about an uncharged suspect. Graphics wouldn't push a chart until they got the underlying dataset. Union folks took meal breaks together at the contract time. Weekend, just a quick update. Slacks were triaged to business hours unless someone could type the word emergency and mean it. Traffic dipped, trust rose. PR folks discovered we wouldn't embed branded quotes without context. A sponsor hinted about alignment. Standards forwarded them the firewall policy. The EIC pinged 17 people asking, "What's going on with velocity?" We replied with links to our own handbook. Then 2 stars announced they were leaving for a non-profit newsroom that pays fairly and lets them be boringly ethical. The fix came wrapped in contrition and metrics. Cash bonuses reinstated across the board, pool scrapped, and headcount allocated to nights so the desk isn't permanently underwater. The EIC called it investing in quality. We filed a clean exclusive that afternoon, thoroughly sourced and calmly headlined. It did numbers anyway. Turns out the algorithm likes it when you act like you'll still want your byline in 5 years, and when your newsroom can afford to keep you around to see it. Story 21. I'm a blackjack dealer at a strip casino where December tips and the year-end bonus are what get you through slow Januaries. This year, the bonus arrived as comp dollars, credits only usable on property for buffets, spa, and hotel rooms, plus a raffle for a jet ski none of us could park. Management kept cash to stabilize leadership. Comp dollars don't pay daycare. We didn't short the house or the guests. We made gaming regulation our religion. Cuts at exactly 50% of the deck. Shuffle procedure by the book. No hand shuffle to keep it moving. Every payout over $200 required a fill call and a floor sign-off. The minute hand hit the top, break started. You can't tap me out late and pretend it's fine. When a high roller wanted to raise table limits mid-shoe, I froze the game until the placard was replaced, surveillance confirmed, and the floor logged the change. At craps, the stick man demanded verbal calls on every hop bet. At roulette, markers were verified before a single chip hit the felt. Guests noticed the tempo change. They weren't angry at us. They were confused that a place built on velocity suddenly ran like a DMV with chandeliers. Whales drifted to properties where accommodations still greased the wheels. The pit boss arrived with his "we're a family" speech and asked if we could be a little flexible. I pointed to the regulation binder the state gaming board makes us memorize and asked which rule he wanted me to break on camera. By midnight, cage lines stretched, fills stacked, and surveillance was paging the floor every 10 minutes because the number of exceptions had dropped to 0, meaning every tiny deviation now set off alerts. A VP walked the pit holding a radio like a passport. He asked what it would take to get the magic back. We said in unison, money. The email hit before first light. Cash bonus reinstated, comp dollars optional with no restrictions, and a promised audit of tip pooling we'd asked for all year. We uncorked the tempo, still legal, still safe, just smooth again. The jet ski raffle vanished. The dealer next to me joked he would have taken the tax withholding in cash anyway.